The moment, everyone froze. No one inside the facility was breathing normally anymore. The hallway lights flickered once, then stayed still. Not because of power failure, but because everyone had stopped moving. The underground research facility was built to hold the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Thick metal walls, energy shields, weapons ready at every corner. Soldiers trained for war against entire species. And yet none of that mattered now. At the far end of the hall, 3 massive containment doors stood open. That alone was impossible. Red warning symbols flashed on every screen. Forbidden life forms, do not approach. Every guard knew those words. They were trained since day 1 to fear them. Not fight, not study, just fear. Inside the open chamber, 3 shapes slowly moved. One was tall and shadow-like, its eyes glowing faint blue. The second was low to the ground, covered in dark scales that looked harder than steel. The third was massive, breathing slowly, each breath making the floor shake. These were not animals. They were not weapons. They were forbidden creatures. Creatures so dangerous that even their names were erased from history. Creatures that once caused fleets to vanish and planets to fall silent. A soldier dropped his weapon. Another whispered, "We're dead." No alarm sounded. The system had shut them down on purpose. The facility AI had only one rule in moments like this. Silence. Do not provoke. The creatures stepped forward. One step. The temperature dropped. Fear spread like a living thing. Then someone else moved. A human. He was standing behind the soldiers, hands empty, no weapon, no armor. Just a simple uniform. His face was calm, almost relaxed. "Stop," a commander hissed. "Don't move." But the human didn't stop. He walked past the frozen soldiers. Each step echoed loudly in the silent hall. Every camera followed him. Scientists watched from behind glass, unable to speak. They expected screaming, blood, death. But the human smiled. Not a proud smile, not a brave one. A gentle smile. The first creature lowered its head slightly. Its glowing eyes focused on the human. Gasps filled the control room. The human raised his hand slowly, very slowly. One wrong move could end everything. The creature leaned forward. Its massive head was now inches from a human. Soldiers shut their eyes. Then the impossible happened. The human placed his hand on the creature's head and gently rubbed it. Not once, not fast, slow, calm, like touching a pet. The creature made a deep, low sound, not a roar, a sound of comfort. The second creature moved closer. Its scales scraped the floor. It stopped beside the human and lowered its head too. The human laughed softly. "You're still the same," he said quietly. He rubbed the second creature's head. The third creature stepped forward. The ground shook. Energy shields powered up on instinct. But the creature didn't attack. It leaned down. The human reached up and rubbed its head as well. Inside the control room, someone whispered, "That's not possible." These creatures had never allowed contact, never accepted control, never shown emotion other than rage. And yet, here they were, calm, silent, obedient. The human stood between them like he belonged there. One scientist checked the data. Heart rates were stable. No aggression, no energy spikes. Fear slowly changed into confusion. The commander finally spoke. Who is that human?" No one answered. The human turned around and looked at the frozen soldiers. "They won't hurt anyone," he said simply. The words felt unreal. A forbidden creature moved closer to him and rested its massive head near his shoulder. The human did not flinch. Instead, he stayed there, calm and smiling. Outside the facility, fleets were already moving. Emergency meetings were called across the galaxy. But inside that silent hallway, one truth was becoming clear. These creatures were not responding to power. They were responding to him, and no one knew why. Yet, why the galaxy erased them. The control room was silent. No one celebrated. No one relaxed. Because everyone knew one truth. What they were seeing should not exist. The 3 forbidden creatures stood calmly around the human, their massive bodies blocking the open chamber like living walls. Any one of them could destroy the facility in seconds. Yet they didn't move. Instead, they waited. The human stepped back slowly, still smiling, his hands now empty. The creatures watched him closely, like guards protecting something precious. The commander finally broke the silence. "Lock the sector," he ordered. "No transmissions. No movement." A scientist shook her head. "Sir, it's too late." A holographic screen lit up. Across the galaxy, long silent warning codes were activating. Ancient signals. Emergency protocols that had not been used for centuries. One word appeared again and again on the screen. Forbidden. The galaxy remembered. Long ago, before humans even left their home world, these creatures ruled the dark space between stars. They were not born as monsters. They were created. Ancient civilizations had tried to build perfect guardians, living weapons that could think, learn, and protect entire systems. They succeeded. Too well. The creatures learned fear, pain, loss, and then they learned anger. Entire fleets disappeared. Worlds went silent overnight. Even the strongest empires fell without a single message sent. No enemy could stop them. So the galaxy did the only thing it could. It hid them. The creatures were trapped in deep space prisons. Their names were erased. Their history destroyed. Even thinking about them was banned. The law was simple. If they ever wake again, destroy everything nearby. That law was older than most species. And now it was broken. Back in the facility, a senior scientist whispered, "They're responding to him like family." The commander turned sharply. "That's impossible." "Is it?" another voice said. The room turned. An old alien advisor stepped forward. His species had seen more centuries than most. "I have seen this behavior before," he said slowly. "A very long time ago." Everyone stared at him. "Those creatures only bonded once," the advisor continued, "with their original caretakers." A cold silence filled the room. Caretakers. Not masters. Not controllers. Caretakers. The human stood quietly below, unaware of the panic spreading above him. One of the creatures gently nudged his arm. He looked at it and chuckled softly. "Easy," he said. "You're safe. Safe." The word hit the control room like a weapon. "These things are not safe," the commander snapped. The advisor shook his head. "No, but they were never meant to be alone." Suddenly, the facility trembled. Not an attack. A transmission. A massive alien council symbol appeared on every screen. The Galactic Authority was calling. Their voice filled the room, cold and absolute. "This facility is under emergency judgment. Step away from the human. Prepare for sterilization." Everyone froze. Sterilization meant one thing: total destruction. The scientist shouted, "Sir, if they attack." "They won't," the advisor interrupted. The commander stared at him. "You sound very sure." The advisor's eyes never left the screen, showing the human and the creatures. "Because they are not protecting the facility," he said quietly. "They are protecting him." Below, the human suddenly paused. He felt it. The air changed. The creatures sensed it too. Their bodies tensed. A low sound rumbled through the hall. Not anger, but warning. The human looked up at the cameras. For the first time, his smile faded. "So, they're coming," he said softly. One of the creatures moved closer to him, placing its massive body between him and the open corridor. The human placed his hand on its side. "No," he said. "Not yet." The creature obeyed. Every sensor in the facility went wild. Obedience signals, emotional synchronization, neural trust, things that should not exist. The Galactic Authority's voice returned. "Human," it said, "you are ordered to step away. You are expendable." The human laughed once. Short, calm. "I know," he replied. That answer shook the room more than any roar. The advisor whispered, "He knows exactly what he is." The commander swallowed hard. "A caretaker," the advisor finished. The forbidden creatures lowered their heads around the human. Not in fear, in loyalty. Outside, fleets moved closer. Weapons charged. History prepared to repeat itself. But for the first time in galactic history, the forbidden monsters were no longer alone. And the galaxy had no idea what it had just awakened. The human they should have erased. The human did not move. Outside the facility, war fleets were forming. Inside, scientists were shaking. And standing in the middle of it all was one human, calm, silent, and surrounded by three beings that once destroyed civilizations. The Galactic Authority repeated its order. Human, step away. This is your final warning. The human looked up at the ceiling cameras. His eyes were not afraid. He looked tired. I won't, he said simply. That single sentence sent shockwaves through the control room. Why? The commander shouted. Why would you choose them over your own life? The human did not answer, but the system did. A soft tone echoed through the control room. Accessing archived human records. Everyone turned. That data is sealed, a scientist whispered. Not anymore, the AI replied. A file opened on the main screen. Subject, human caretaker, status, erased. The room went silent. The old advisor stepped forward slowly. Impossible, he murmured. Those records were destroyed centuries ago. The screen began to play old footage. The video showed a dead world. Gray skies, broken ground, no cities, no life, except one small outpost. A younger human appeared on screen. Thinner, worn clothes, no rank marks, just a worker. The label read, Remote Biological Maintenance Unit. This was not a prison, the advisor whispered. This was a nursery. The footage showed three small shapes inside energy fields. Smaller versions of the forbidden creatures. Injured, weak. The young human moved carefully between them, carrying food packs and medical tools. No weapons, no guards. One creature lashed out weakly. The human stepped back, but did not leave. He waited. Then he sat down and waited longer. Hours passed in seconds. Finally, the creature crawled closer. The human slowly reached out and touched its head. The room watching the footage froze. The scientist gasped. He was alone with them? Yes, the advisor said. That was the mistake. The footage continued. Days turned into months. The human fed them, cleaned their wounds, sat with them through storms and system failures. When one creature screamed in pain, the human stayed. When another broke free and could have killed him, it didn't. Instead, it stayed. The advisor's voice was heavy. They were never taught loyalty by force, he said. They were taught it by care. Back in the present, the human closed his eyes as if he could feel the memories returning. The commander whispered, Why erase him? The AI answered, Reason, risk too high. Emotional bond formed. The room exploded with voices. They erased him to protect themselves, the advisor said bitterly. They feared what would happen if the creatures chose someone. The screen showed the final record. Order, remove caretaker. Wipe records. The footage ended. Silence filled the control room. Outside the hall, one of the creatures let out a deep, painful sound. Not anger. Loss. The human opened his eyes. They took me away, he said quietly. They said it was for my safety. The creatures pressed closer to him now. They said you were too dangerous, he continued. Not them, a scientist whispered. You were the real threat. The human smiled sadly. I was just kind. Suddenly, alarms blared. Not from inside, from space. The Galactic Authority fleet had arrived. Weapons charged. Target locked. The Authority's voice returned, colder than before. This bond is unacceptable. The caretaker must be eliminated. The creatures reacted instantly. Energy surged. Space itself seemed to bend. Power readings spiked beyond anything recorded. The advisor shouted, If they attack now, entire systems will burn. The human raised his hand. The creature stopped. Instantly. Every sensor confirmed it. Total obedience. The human lowered his hand slowly. If you fire, he said calmly into the camera, they will answer. The Authority paused. For the first time, they hesitated. The human took a step forward. You made the monsters, he said. I made them family. The creatures lowered their heads behind him. Not in submission. In trust. The commander whispered, This isn't containment anymore. The advisor nodded. This is a reunion. Outside, weapons remained locked. Inside, history was changing, and the galaxy was about to learn something terrifying. Not about monsters, but about what humans become when they care. When the galaxy chose fear. The galaxy did not sleep that day. Across thousands of star systems, emergency signals lit up ancient networks. Councils that had not met in centuries were called back into existence. Old laws were taken out of digital graves, all because of one human, and 3 creatures that were never meant to be seen again. Inside the facility, the air felt heavy, not with heat, but with pressure. Every sensor screamed the same warning. Unstable power levels. The forbidden creatures stood behind the human now, their massive forms silent and still. They were no longer curious. They were alert. Outside, the Galactic Authority fleet spread into formation. Hundreds of ships, weapons glowing, enough firepower to erase solar systems. The Authority's voice echoed again, louder and colder. This is your final chance. Step away from the creatures. Humanity will not be spared. The commander whispered, "They're ready to kill us all." The old advisor shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "They're afraid." The human looked up at the stars through the reinforced glass ceiling. "So this is how it ends," he said softly. One of the creatures made a low sound, almost questioning. The human reached back and placed his hand on its side. "Not yet," he whispered. The creature calmed instantly. That moment was recorded, broadcast, seen by billions, and it broke something inside the galaxy. On a distant council world, alien leaders watched the feed in silence. "That human is controlling them," one leader said. "No," another replied. "He isn't controlling anything." A third voice spoke, shaking. "They are choosing him." That truth was worse. If power could be controlled, it could be copied, stopped, destroyed. But choice? Choice could not be erased. Back at the facility, the Galactic Authority gave the order. Fire warning shot. A beam of energy ripped through space, missing the facility by kilometers, but close enough to shake it violently. The floor cracked. Scientists screamed. The creatures reacted instantly. Energy surged around them like a storm. Gravity bent. Light twisted. Power readings went off the scale. The commander shouted, "Shields are failing." The advisor yelled, "If they release even a fraction of their power, we're all dead." The human stepped forward. "Stop," he said calmly. The creatures froze. Every surge ended instantly. The warning lights shut off. Silence returned. The fleet outside paused. That pause lasted only a second, but it was enough. The galaxy saw it. The monsters did not fear weapons. They feared disappointing one human. The Galactic Authority went quiet. Then their voice returned, changed. "Human," it said, "you have become a threat to galactic balance." The human smiled sadly. "I never wanted power," he replied. "I just didn't walk away." A scientist whispered, "This is madness." "No," the advisor said softly. "This is humanity." The Authority continued. "If you live, others will follow. Bonds like this cannot be allowed." The human looked around the room, at the soldiers, the scientists, the commander. "They're scared of what comes next," he said. The creatures shifted, sensing his thoughts. The human turned fully now, facing them. "They will come again," he said gently. "Stronger, louder." The creatures leaned closer. "But they won't understand you," he continued. "They will only see monsters." The largest creature lowered its head near him. The human placed his forehead against its armored skin. "I won't let them hurt you again." That promise changed everything. In the control room, the advisor's voice trembled. "If he leaves with them," he said, "no prison will ever hold them again." The commander swallowed. "And if he stays?" The advisor looked at the screen. "Then the galaxy will try to kill him." The human turned toward the cameras one last time. "You made them weapons," he said quietly. "You made me expendable." His eyes hardened. "I choose something else." The creatures straightened. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. The Galactic Authority shouted, "You will doom your species." The human replied calmly, "Or save it." The creatures stepped forward as one, not attacking, protecting. Outside, targeting systems failed. Weapons refused to lock. Something ancient and terrified spread through the fleet. For the first time in galactic history, the Authority realized the truth. They were no longer in control, not because of monsters, but because a human refused to abandon what he cared for. And that scared them more than any forbidden creature ever could. The truth they buried too deep. The Galactic Authority did not attack. Not yet. Their fleet stayed in position, weapons glowing, waiting, watching. Inside the facility, fear had changed shape. It was no longer panic. It was realization. The humans stood still, the three forbidden creatures close behind him. They were no longer reacting to threats. They were listening. The old advisor stared at the data streams, scrolling across the screens. "This cannot be right," he whispered. The commander looked at him sharply. "What did you find?" The advisor swallowed. "These creatures were never meant to be destroyed," he said. "They were meant to replace us." The room went quiet. Long before the Galactic Authority existed, the galaxy faced a threat it could not fight. Something beyond space, beyond time. Entire star systems vanished without trace. No debris, no energy, just gone. Panic ruled the galaxy. The ancient civilizations needed guardians, beings that could stand where fleets failed. So they created life, not machines, living protectors, the forbidden creatures. They were built with power to bend gravity, tear through dimensions, and survive the impossible. But power alone was not enough. They also gave them minds. Minds that could learn, minds that could feel. That was the first mistake. They felt pain, the advisor said. They felt fear. And worst of all, they felt loneliness. The ancient creators treated them like tools. Commands, control, punishment. The creatures obeyed. Until one day they didn't. The galaxy called it rebellion. But the truth was simpler. They broke, the humans said quietly. Everyone turned toward him. They were never evil, he continued. They were abandoned. One of the creatures let out a low sound, deep and heavy. Not angry, sad. The advisor nodded slowly. When the creators vanished, the creatures were left alone. Still powerful, still loyal, with no one to guide them. So the galaxy panicked. Instead of helping, they hunted. Instead of teaching, they imprisoned. And then they erased the truth. The forbidden creatures became monsters in history books. The caretakers became secrets. And the real threat was forgotten. A scientist whispered. Then why did they listen to him? The answer was simple. Because he stayed. The human looked up at the screens, showing the ancient records. They left me with them because they thought I was weak, he said. Expendable. He smiled faintly. They didn't understand humans. The creatures moved closer. When everything else failed, he continued, I didn't give orders. I talked. He placed a hand on one creature's side. I didn't control them. I reminded them who they were. Suddenly, alarms changed tone. Not danger. Arrival. A new fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Not galactic authority. Human ships. The commander stared. Humanity has entered the system. The advisor's eyes widened. They were never supposed to know. A transmission opened. A calm human voice filled the room. This is United Human Command, it said. We are aware of the situation. The Galactic Authority reacted instantly. Human forces withdraw immediately. This matter does not concern you. The reply was immediate. It concerns one of ours. The human in the facility closed his eyes. They found me, he whispered. The advisor trembled. Humans knew about the caretakers? They learned, the human replied. Quietly, patiently. The creatures sensed the shift. Human ships did not raise weapons. They moved into protective positions between the facility and the authority fleet. A clear message. The authority's voice turned sharp. You risk war. The human smiled. No, he said. You already lost it. The advisor realized the truth too late. Humans never challenged the galaxy before because they didn't need to. They watched. They remembered. They waited. And now, one human had become the line the galaxy could not cross. The forbidden creatures lifted their heads. Power rippled through space. Not violent. Focused. Purposeful. The human looked at the stars. You buried the truth, he said softly. But humans are very good at digging. The fleets faced each other. Weapons charged. History balanced on a single moment. And for the first time, the galaxy feared something new. Not monsters. Not fleets. But a species that chose loyalty over fear. The choice that shook the stars. No one fired. That was the most terrifying part. Two fleets faced each other in open space. One was the Galactic Authority, old, massive and afraid of losing control. The other was Human Command, smaller in number but calm, steady. Between them, 3 forbidden creatures, and 1 human. Inside the facility, time felt frozen. Sensors screamed, then went silent, unable to read the power building around the creatures. The old advisor whispered, "If this turns violent, there will be no winners." The commander swallowed. Then why are they still holding fire? The answer came slowly. Because the decision was not theirs. It was his. The Galactic Authority spoke again, but its voice was different now. Less commanding, more careful. "Human caretaker," it said, "you stand at the edge of extinction. Step away, and your species will be spared." The human did not answer at once. He turned and looked at the 3 creatures. They were watching him, waiting, not as weapons, as family. The human took a slow breath. "They always give the same choice," he said softly. "Obey or disappear." One creature lowered its head, touching the floor. It remembered those words. The human clenched his fist. "No more," he said. The advisor suddenly realized something. "He's not deciding for us," he whispered. "He's deciding for them." The human stepped forward, away from the creatures. The room gasped. The creatures reacted instantly, energy flaring. "Stay," the human said calmly. They froze. Total control. No force. Just trust. The human faced the cameras. "I will not let you use them again," he said. "And I will not let you destroy them." The authority replied sharply. "Then you choose war." The human shook his head. "No," he said. "I choose exile." The word hit harder than any weapon. The commander shouted, "Exile? Where would you even go?" The human smiled faintly. "Far enough that you can't reach us." The advisor's eyes widened. "Deep, uncharted space," he whispered. "Beyond the mapped galaxy." Even the authority hesitated. "You would abandon your species?" it demanded. The human turned slightly, glancing toward the human fleet outside. "They know who I am," he said. "They know I must go." A new message flashed across human ships. "We understand. We remember. No protest. No argument. Only respect." The forbidden creatures shifted. They felt it. Leaving. Freedom. Fear. The largest creature let out a low, uncertain sound. The human walked back to them and placed his hand against its massive side. "I won't leave you," he said quietly. "Not again." The creature's power stabilized. The others followed. Space itself seemed to relax. The Galactic Authority spoke one last time. "If you cross that boundary," it said, "you will be erased from all records. You will not exist." The human smiled. "That already happened once," he replied. The authority fell silent. They had no answer to that. Outside, human ships slowly pulled back. Not retreating, making room. The creatures began to move. Not attacking, traveling. Reality bent around them as they opened a path no engine could follow. A doorway into darkness. Into the unknown. The advisor watched in awe. "They're not tearing space," he whispered. "They're opening it." The human turned once more toward the cameras. "You feared them because you didn't understand them," he said. "You feared humans because you couldn't control us." He stepped into the darkness with the creatures. The doorway began to close. The commander shouted, "What if we need you again?" The human's voice echoed back. "Then learn to be better." The doorway sealed. Silence returned. Moments later, sensors cleared. The creatures were gone. The human was gone. The power readings dropped to 0. The galaxy was safe. Or so they believed. The advisor sank into his chair. "You didn't stop a war," he said softly. "You delayed a lesson." Far beyond the edge of known space, something ancient stirred. Not anger. Not revenge. Preparation. Because exile was not an end. It was a beginning. And the galaxy had just let its greatest protector walk away. The day the galaxy begged. Years passed. The galaxy told itself a lie. That the threat was gone. That exile had solved everything. That peace had returned. Records were rewritten. Files sealed. Names erased. The human caretaker became a myth. The forbidden creatures became a warning story. And slowly, fear faded. That was when the real enemy came. It did not arrive with fleets. It did not declare war. It simply appeared. Entire star systems went dark in seconds. No explosions. No wreckage. Just silence. Space folded in on itself like it was being erased. The same ancient threat the galaxy had once feared. The one the forbidden creatures were created to stop. The Galactic Authority panicked. Weapons failed. Shields meant nothing. Fleets vanished the moment they engaged. Council worlds burned. Emergency signals spread across the galaxy. And every old record led to the same terrible truth. They had sent away the only beings that could fight this, and the only human who could guide them. Inside the Grand Council chamber, leaders argued in fear. We must find them. Impossible. They are beyond map space. They erased themselves. The old advisor, now weak, older, spoke with a shaking voice. No, he said. We erased them. Silence followed. Then one final signal was sent. Not a command. Not a threat. A plea. Far beyond known space, in the dark where no map reached. Something answered. Space rippled. Reality bent. And three familiar shapes emerged from the void. Bigger. Stronger. Calmer. Between them walked a human. Older. Scarred. Smiling. The human watched the galaxy burn from a distance. They broke the seal, he said softly. The largest creature growled, sensing the ancient enemy. The human placed his hand on its side. I know, he said. It's time. They did not rush. They moved with purpose. Human ships followed. Not many, but enough. Not as soldiers. As witnesses. The first battle lasted seconds. The ancient enemy struck. The creatures answered. Space itself shattered. Dimensions collapsed. The enemy screamed, not in pain, but in fear. Because this time, the creatures were not alone. They were guided, focused, united. The humans stood at the center, calm as ever. Together, he said, and the impossible happened. The ancient threat was pushed back, not destroyed, contained. Again, across the galaxy, worlds watched in silence. The monsters they feared were saving them. The human they erased was leading them. The Galactic Authority transmitted one final message. Human caretaker, we were wrong. The human did not answer at first. When he did, his voice was quiet. I know, when the battle ended, the galaxy waited. For punishment, for judgment, for revenge. But none came. The creatures stood still. The human turned away. We didn't come back for forgiveness, he said. We came back because it was right. The largest creature lowered its head. The others followed, not to the galaxy, to the human. The old advisor wept openly. They chose him, he whispered, not us. The human gave one last message before leaving again. You feared monsters, he said. You feared power. But what you should have feared was losing your humanity. The void opened once more. The human and the forbidden creatures disappeared. This time, not erased. Remembered. From that day on, galactic law changed. Not because of fear, but because of shame. And in every record, one truth was finally written. Humanity's greatest weapon was never strength. It was the refusal to abandon those who trusted them.